Okay, so something I help a lot of clients with is digestion. And a lot of people think about digestion in terms of maybe proteins and fats. But in this context, I want to talk about digestion of carbohydrates, how that can improve your metabolism, improve your digestion, and then lead to reintroducing specific kinds of carbohydrates. So when I view carbohydrates, we have basically really starchy carbohydrates. I would think of something maybe like a potato, a rice, a sourdough bread. That would be another option, right? Those are some starchier carbohydrates. They have more grains, more different types of nutrients in them than, say, a fruit. And fruit is another type of carbohydrate. So up here I have banana, that's a carb, kiwi, carb, blueberry, carb right here. Now the things about these is they have fiber in them. And they also do have additional nutrients, polyphenols, flavonoids, many things that impact our bodies. They have many different enzymes, many different things working within them. But it also can be a little bit more complex to digest. They also have skin on them. They also might have seeds in them. It might be thicker, more fibrous type of fruit. And then very simple would be something like an orange juice. Okay, I'm probably having at least one of these a day. Coca-Cola, Mexican Coca-Cola with cane sugar, I'm having at least one of those a day as well. A lot of fruit, probably up to 1.5 to 2 quarts of fruit juice per day. And then milk is another great carbohydrate. So when we think about carbs too, milk, this is 1% here. I mean, this is really carbs and protein only, barely any fat, extremely helpful with the calcium, still getting some fat in, and it's healthy fat. It's the saturated fat that is not high in linoleic acid, which is going to harm your thyroid and slow your metabolism. So it's healthy fat, very much encouraged to have that. So your carbohydrate sources, once again, all the people who maybe have constipation, and this is kind of I think an under talked about topic, but a lot of people struggle with constipation that I talk with, especially people looking to lose weight. So many of the things that we eat in our society are very much, they're processed, they're thickly made. Maybe they have gums in them, they have binding agents. And what these agents do is it almost volumizes certain food. Like if you ever put xanthan gum, maybe you made protein ice cream a few years ago, as I did, and you put this xanthan gum in it, I used like once, and it blows the thing up. And a lot of these ice creams, a lot of different foods, which are processed, they have these additives, binders, fillers, and they create so much distress within your GI, within your stomach, within your intestine, that after all of that inflammation, you don't burn that food efficiently. But if you had something like a Haagen-Dazs, which I talked about before, or something like a fruit juice, these burn very much, even milk, burn way more efficiently. They don't have any of these additives that are just very harmful to ingest within your body. They're not meant to really be eaten in these quantities or maybe even at all. So adding them within food is not helpful, but when you pull them out, it can be extremely helpful. That's something I'll see with a lot of people, as I'll be able to increase their base metabolism just by putting them on really a structured meal plan. So per meal, what exact carbohydrates to use, what to switch to, and have like a delegated field, not just eating, any of these kind of BS processed foods. And when you take all those out, people tend to lose inflammation pretty quickly and then tend to have more energy, and metabolism stays pretty strong while losing weight. So that's something that's completely doable when you're having these sources. All of these can work. So anything from rice to a starch, potato, I have potatoes pretty often, sourdough. But as you notice, as you pull down the starch, digestion will improve. And that's a common theme. And then as you pull down starch or like fiber from even these fruit and go to juice, digestion will improve. Even using maple syrup, honey, things like that. Obviously I showed the Coca-Cola with the sugar. So those are super simple. I mean, they break down very simply. Now you need to have quality stomach and liver production of enzymes and of health to always break down that really efficiently. And that's something that's important as well, is processing your sugar efficiently, but that'll improve the digestion. So when you're increasing sugar, that's another kind of a nuance here. But as you increase sugar, you can kind of pull down the starches, and that will prevent you from gaining weight. When you're playing with improving your metabolism, a lot of times people, and I've even gotten caught in this, is you almost will put on a little bit of body fat because you're trying to add so much and see if you can stay, but you inevitably you gain maybe a little bit of weight. So if you're trying to improve your metabolism in a maintenance phase, because I don't think most of us need a bulk, to be quite frank, we don't need to be that big. So when you're in a maintenance phase, trying to improve your metabolism, what you can do is you pull down the fat when you're increasing carbs, and then you have specific fats that you use kind of as a supplement. So that's when I use ice cream. But other good fats would be like a coconut oil, and then from Parmesan cheese, milk. But not having a ton of iron as well can be helpful. So those are some things, some kind of nuances behind it. But in general, as you increase your carbs, increase via simple carbs, easiest to digest. So they're going to be the easiest for you to hopefully not store as body fat. If we slow digestion down, we increase probably the probability of storing body fat. If we have a really efficient metabolism and digestion, digestion is just working super smooth, chances are everything's being processed really efficiently, nothing's being slowed down. Basically, we think of like you put something in like a pool, you try to fill it up, and if you overfill it, that water seeps out. But with a good metabolism, none of that seeps out, because the water that seeps out is stored as body fat. So we want to prevent that by having quality digestion. And if things are moving smooth and you're really warm and digestion metabolism is really good, then body fat should be low. And how we do that is the most efficient fuel is going to be the simple sugars, the simple carbohydrates. And you can get a lot of the nutrients just from some simple base power foods that Ray Pete and all these people talk about, but that'd be orange juice, that'd be milk, Parmesan cheese, that'd be, maybe a honey or maple syrup, or some fruit, some eggs, yogurt, cottage cheese, lean red meat, possibly some fish, liver, oysters. Those are both really helpful as well. And then slowly introduce in maybe potatoes, rice, things like that. But if you're rebuilding it, you can start from the base, what digests easiest, and that would be milk, orange juice. And I've done that myself too. So having 5,000 calories a day, you bet that's why I'm having a lot of orange juice, a lot of milk. Can digest it really well, because my base calories used to be at 2,500 7-8 months ago, and which is crazy, but that was what it was like 7-8 months ago, and I've rebuilt that, and now my base is probably around 5,000. So that maybe 5 pounds heavier, and now going into a cut, then the metabolism works a lot better. So sometimes it's worth putting on the sideline 6 to 8 months, say I'm going to rebuild the metabolism. That's what I did. I got really lean, but my metabolism was shot, and that was kind of my next mission. Was like, there's no way I'm going to eat 2,000 calories, 2,500. I need more food than that, need more variety. So then eventually boosted metabolism, started to feel better. And now I'm like, okay, we can reduce that from 5,000, maybe 4.5 to 4, and get leaner than I was before. So that's how you can utilize the carbohydrates to improve metabolism to then actually get leaner. So what we're doing is actually working at the foundation of health and fat loss and energy, rather than just trying to pull off the top. So if we improve the foundation, you can be hopefully long-term leaner with a better metabolism and keeping it that way for a long time. Now, of course, it's a lifestyle, so you have to continue to eat that way, continue to eat low amounts of PUFA, continue to, get adequate movement, but trust your intuition. You can do what you want. So that's how you can use some carbohydrates. Hopefully that helps. If digestion's shitty, obviously maybe pull down the starchy carbohydrates, reduce the processed food. If digestion's still shitty, then you can go to some simpler carbohydrates, some simpler sugars. And from there, there's many other nuances behind digestion. So if you are looking for help on that, feel free to reach out. I've helped a lot of people who've had issues from ulcerative colitis to Crohn's to SIBO, H. pylori. I've had a few of those myself. So having poor digestion is not fun at all. And I think there's so many nuances behind digestion. You can go one route and just GI map the hell out of it and try to just nuke it with all these different medicines. But what happens if you have a poor thyroid function? Well, it continues to come back. These stomach infections continue to come back, and I've been the route of just, hey, let's spam the testing, and then spam it with medication. But if you don't resolve the root cause, okay, if you have poor thyroid function, your skin health and your digestive health will be naturally, following that cycle, will have less, the skin will have less blood flow because of low thyroid, and the digestion won't be as fast. And when you're constantly kind of slow in digestion, you have things like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You have other things that don't get killed off efficiently. So then you have, infections in your gut. And of course, taking antibiotics can be extremely helpful, but having good thyroid function, those shouldn't be occurring. And you look back in you look back into thyroid literature 80, 90, 100 years ago. Dr. Broda Barnes talks about this, but a lot of hypothyroid patients solve digestion by improving thyroid. and a lot of patients improve skin conditions by improving thyroid. So this tends to be a very common bottleneck for a lot of issues. And when I'm talking about digestion, you might think I only talk about fat loss, but those completely work together. So if it's one, if fat loss is poor, I typically want to look at digestion. It might not be, for some people digestion is good, but a lot of times that can be a root cause of why fat loss is not occurring. So improving digestion will make fat loss much easier. There's other things to improve as well. There's definitely other things to improve. Of course, just sleep and step count are two things mainly that are very low-hanging fruit that if you improve, you probably will lose body fat, maybe 5 to 10 pounds. When I look at people who've lost weight, of course they eat quality food, they train hard, but they typically get 7+ hours of sleep, and they typically have 8 to 10,000 steps per day. And then they follow their nutrition and they train 3 to 4 times a week. And you can lose 40 to 50 pounds doing that. But the sleep, you'll have more growth hormone secretion, you'll have more testosterone production, and you'll have a lot of benefits within your body, within your brain, for hormone production especially, because a lot of that happens with your brain. So very important to sleep for testosterone, for thyroid function. So if you bump that, I used to be a low sleeper. I didn't sleep a lot. I probably slept 5 to 6 hours a night for 5-6 years. And being on low sleep, you don't realize that until you improve sleep, and it improves a lot. You have libido, which is significantly higher. For me, I was somebody with testosterone hovering at the lowest, like 170. And then before I fixed it, probably the highest was like 320, 330. So it was in between that range for like probably 6-7 years. Then started to look into how to improve it, sleeping more, improving lifestyle, improving the quality of food, ideally trying to continue to store things in less and less plastic and more glass. And then, supplement wise too, you can use things like I used HCG, and that was a compound that was helpful, that helped just kind of like restart. Basically, I had low thyroid production for so long that it like kind of shut down everything that was going on. So before I realized thyroid is an issue, I tried to boost testosterone, and that's something I talk to people a lot about. And HCG helped kind of return on everything, and I ran that for 3 to 4 months, and then from there didn't need anything. And testosterone's been like 700-800 every time for a couple years. So it's definitely you can improve with HCG before using TRT. So I try to talk to people about that. I'll also mention boron via dates. Those are helpful. Obviously, you can take the supplement boron, but I've had people who've had massive success with improving libido and things like that when you're improving boron. So I would say that's important for hormone production. And now we're just chatting right now. I'm trying to think of anything else. But that really comes down to thyroid metabolism and using simple sugars as a way to improve metabolism. So very much encourage that if you're exploring. There's been diet themes for the past few years, and a lot of them have been, there's a lot of anti-sugar, anti-carbohydrates, and from the keto carnivore, even intermittent fasting is typically low carb. You don't see people intermittent fasting usually having over 200 grams of carbs a day. And for me, at the beginning of a cut, carbs are like 750 grams a day. So you can manipulate your metabolism now. There's, once again, it's always nuance for everybody. So everybody's a little different. I kind of like to push the envelope myself. So I'll test some things out before I'll have other people kind of test it out. I'm like, okay, if we add this, if you drink this when you're lifting, what happens? Or if you do X, Y, and Z after a workout, or you do this in between sets. Like if you just kind of add some things in, I think that can be helpful. It's kind of fun. You can gamify things when you have different tasks to kind of check off and do, like eating healthy and other parts of life, like walking, like I mentioned. So hopefully that helps. improve metabolism, simple sugars. There you go.